Roman Reigns gets replaced as the top guy in WWE. Great news regarding Randy Orton's expected WWE return. Reality behind Brock Lesnar's contract situation with WWE. Backstage panic as brutal WWE spot doesn't go as planned. Jey Uso's first rival on Raw. Jimmy Uso to face former WWE champion on SmackDown, and more. Let's jump right into it. Great news regarding Randy Orton's expected WWE return. WWE is reportedly hopeful Randy Orton could make his long-awaited return to TV before the end of the year. Orton last competed in May 2022 when he and his RK Bro tag team partner, Matt Riddle, lost the Raw Tag Team Championships to the Usos on SmackDown. He has since been out of action due to a back injury. In an interview with Bill Apter of Sportskeeda Wrestling last May, Orton's father, Hall of Famer Bob Orton Jr., provided an update on his son's condition. He revealed that doctors have advised the Viper not to return to in-ring competition. Nevertheless, he pointed out that Randy will do what Randy wants to do. In a recent update, Zero News reported that, according to his source, WWE is still hopeful that the Viper would return to TV before the end of 2023. However, the company is yet to make any plans for his comeback. Randy Orton worked closely with Bray Wyatt a few years ago. The Viper even briefly joined the Wyatt family before turning on the group leader and feuding with the Eater of Worlds. Following Wyatt's tragic passing, Orton's wife Kim shared a heartbreaking Instagram post mentioning her husband's reaction to the news. "This hits different. It hurts my heart to see my husband hurting. As I sit and look at this picture, it just makes my heart break thinking his children are around the same age as mine here. Plus pray that God gives JoJo the strength to be strong enough in the light to comfort her children in this dark time and give her the courage to fall to her knees where she needs love and support in the dark. Give her strength to know she is not alone and she was left with the love of his beautiful babies to give her the support she will need to get through this. Rest easy, Wyndham." Reality behind Brock Lesnar's contract situation with WWE. There have been a lot of rumors about Brock Lesnar's contract situation with WWE recently. A report now appears to have cleared up the reality of the situation, which also sheds some light on Lesnar's future with the company. Brock Lesnar has not appeared on WWE TV since SummerSlam. The feud he started with Cody Rhodes the day after WrestleMania finally came to a conclusion there, with Rhodes getting a big win over him to establish himself further in WWE. The star turned face after the match as well, hugging Rhodes. Now fans are waiting for him to return again, with no idea when the Beast will be back. Recently, a rumor emerged that WWE's contract situation with Brock Lesnar was not a normal one, and that the top star had a verbal contract with the company. Now, a report by Ringside News has made the situation clear. A source within WWE confirmed the details about Lesnar's contract status. It was made clear that he didn't have any verbal agreements with WWE, and the contract was one that was in writing. As a result, it appears the previous report was not true. This also sheds some light on Lesnar's future, as it appears it's not a verbal contract that the Beast can walk away from, but a written one that he's bound to honor. Backstage panic as brutal WWE spot doesn't go as planned. Last night's episode of WWE NXT went off the air suddenly when the screen faded to black following a brutal encounter between Braun Breaker and Von Wagner. The two men continued to fight following their match, with Breaker using a chair on Von Wagner before he crawled over to the steel steps and was then caught between them. Bodyslam.net is now reporting that while the fade to black was always planned, the spot itself went somewhat awry. The EMTs and other agents seemed exceptionally worried after the spot. The same people also noted that when the steps came down, they directly made contact with the back of Von Wagner's head and neck. For reference, the part of the steps used in the segment weighs around 150 pounds. It was also reported that the fade to black may have been a blessing in disguise for Von Wagner, as aspects went wrong and Wagner ended up being split open by the shot. The screen cutting to black left many fans feeling anxious, since it's not a usual way for WWE to end an episode of their show. Shawn Michaels came out after the spot to continue his feud with Breaker, but the Heartbreak Kid appeared to be visibly shaken. After the show went off the air, there's a video of Shawn Michaels throwing Braun Breaker out of the arena, but there hasn't yet been an update on Wagner following the brutal spot that could have ended his career if it went wrong. It's thought that there will be an update in the coming days. Do you think a spot between the two men went wrong? Share your thoughts and opinions on the assault in the comments section below. Natalia shares heartwarming childhood story about Bray Wyatt. The wrestling world is still reeling from Bray Wyatt's untimely death back on August 24. Natalia remembered the former WWE champion and shared a touching story about their childhood. Wyatt passed away at the age of 36 due to cardiac arrest. Tributes poured in from friends, wrestlers, and fans around the world. WB honored him as well as Terry Funk in a special tribute show on SmackDown. 2 weeks after his death, Natalia shared a couple of pictures from Wyatt's childhood. She also told a story about a young Bray dressing up as Batman girlfriend for Halloween. Wyndham was only 1 month old in this picture when his parents brought him over to our house to proudly show my mom and dad their new baby, Natalia wrote. I was 5 years old. Years later, we would go trick-or-treating together in our neighborhood. Wyndham dressed up as Batman. It's surreal to think about Wyndham being gone, but I'm so proud to have known him. More than what he contributed to the wrestling business, which was massive. He was a great person. We will never forget you. The first image shows Wyatt's father, Mike Rotunda, holding him as a baby. The second was taken Halloween with Bray, Natalia, Kristen Muffy, Neidhart, and Harry and Georgia Smith. Wyndham Rotunda, famously known as Bray Wyatt, was born into a famed wrestling family. He signed with WWE in 2009 and began training at Florida Championship Wrestling with future stars such as Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Wade Barrett, and the Usos. Wyatt made his main roster debut as Husky Harris in the second season of NXT. He joined the Nexus, but was later sent back to FC Gabo. He worked on his craft even more and created the Bray Wyatt character along with the Wyatt family. They made their main roster debut in July 2012, and the rest is history. Wyatt won the WWE Championship once and the Universal Championship twice. He also introduced several characters from his creative mind, such as The Fiend, Uncle Howdy, and his Firefly Funhouse character. What is the greatest moment of Bray Wyatt's career? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Rhea Ripley sends message to JD McDonough following WWE Raw. Rhea Ripley warned JD McDonough not to get too comfortable despite what transpired this past Monday on Raw. Ripley remained wary of McDonough, who defeated Sami Zayn on behalf of the Judgment Day. McDonough continued his efforts to get on the good side of the Judgment Day by presenting Damian Priest with a brand new purple-colored Money in the Bank briefcase. Zayn interrupted the segment to challenge Dominic Mysterio to a match, but the Irish Ace accepted the challenge and won with a roll-up. After the match on Raw, McDonough shared an image of him giving Priest his new MITB briefcase. However, Ripley doesn't want McDonough to get ahead of himself and warned him to slow it down. Don't push it. Baby steps, Ripley wrote. While the Judgment Day has had no official leader since they removed Edge last year, Rhea Ripley does seem to have the final word if JD McDonough officially joins them. The Judgment Day officially became WWE's top stable after Payback when Finn Balor and Damian Priest won the undisputed tag team championships from Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. All members of the Judgment Day now have gold, with Rhea Ripley still the WWE Women's World Champion and Dominic Mysterio holding the NXT North American Championship. Ripley successfully defended her title against Raquel Rodriguez at Payback with some help from Mysterio. Meanwhile, Dirty Dom is all set to defend his championship against Mustafa Ali at NXT No Mercy. Ali defeated Dragon Lee to earn the title shot this past Tuesday on NXT. It should also be noted that Priest also holds the Money in the Bank briefcase, which he can use to challenge for any title at any point in time. Rhea Ripley is also set to defend her championship next week on Raw against Raquel Rodriguez. The difference this time around is Dominic Mysterio will be banned from ringside. How long will the Judgment Day rule Monday Night Raw? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Jey Uso's first rival on Raw. Jey Uso's arrival on Monday Night Raw turned out to be quite the thriller for fans. Unfortunately, it's not the exciting news that Raw's men's division was expecting when Cody Rhodes had something to announce at Payback. In his first official appearance on Raw, it was made clear that Jey needs to watch his back. It seems Sami Zayn and Dominic Mysterio are the only two superstars who aren't holding a grudge against him for doing Roman Reigns' bidding. In fact, while walking backstage from his segment on Raw, main event Jey Uso met with a scowling Drew McIntyre. Recently, the Scottish Warrior took to social media to post a cryptic message directed at Jey. He posted a College of the Bloodline smashing him with steel chairs and the two meeting at the top of the ramp on Raw. It's possible this is a hint for Uso's first rivalry on the red brand. It would make sense, considering the other top names in WWE Raw don't fit into a plausible storyline for Jey. Sami Zayn and Dominic Mysterio have already approached him as allies. Cody Rhodes may be moved to SmackDown, and it's too early to put Uso in a title storyline with Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre is the perfect option to take on Jey Uso, and with Matt Riddle in the equation, a revenge storyline for his actions as a part of the Bloodline fits in very well. Main event Jey Uso's arrival on Raw has provided a fresh pace for the red brand. Fans are eagerly waiting to see what the Stanford-based promotion has in store for him. Even though he's a babyface now, his heel work in the Bloodline has put him in the bad books of others. Former WWE writer Vince Russo believes Jey Uso constantly having to look over his shoulder to survive is a good way to book rivalries rather than the age-old formula of interferences for feuds. To me, it's like anything that comes out of a wrestling match is it means nothing. That's why I like him, Jey. If he's got to watch his back and he's got a lot of enemies, that to me is a story. Who can I trust? Who can I trust? Who is sincere? Who is beasting me? That I can get, but bro, oh, you accidentally did this to me. Like that stuff ain't going nowhere, bro. Only time will tell what's next for main event Jey among the superstars of the red brand, a majority of whom do not like him. Jimmy Uso to face former WWE champion on SmackDown. WWE has announced that Jimmy Uso will take on AJ Styles on SmackDown this Friday night. Last week on the blue brand, the former Bloodline member confronted the phenomenal won after he interrupted Michin's backstage interview. This led to a singles match between the former two-time WWE champion and Solo Sikoa in the main event of the show. In the closing moments, Uso interrupted, helping Sikoa get the win. After the bout, the enforcer tried to attack his brother, but Paul Heyman stopped him. It was teased that Jimmy could rejoin the bloodline. In the meantime, AJ Styles will get to put his hands on Jimmy Uso when he faces him on SmackDown next week. The bloodline was the biggest group in all of wrestling until the Usos turned on Roman Reigns and left faction. At Money in the Bank, the former undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions collided with Solo and Reigns in a tag team match, which they won. However, things changed after Jimmy shockingly turned on his brother at SummerSlam during the latter's match against the Tribal Chief. On Raw this week, main event Jey Uso returned to the Red brand and is now a huge babyface. Since he was part of the bloodline and they screwed many superstars over, the multi-time champion was getting some icy stares from people now that he didn't have the rest of his family with him. Fortunately for Jimmy Uso, he isn't alone on SmackDown, and based on what took place last week before the show ended, it seems like him becoming a bloodline member once again could be a reality now that he's back to being a heel. It'll be interesting to see how things pan out. Would you like to see Jimmy rejoin the bloodline? Sound off in the comments below. Roman Reigns gets replaced as the top guy in WWE. Roman Reigns is the centerpiece of WWE and arguably the most over superstar in all of pro wrestling. Reigns has not only been dominating the company with his record-breaking, undisputed WWE Universal Championship reign, but also with his performances that have attention to detail and nuances that put him above most others. Speaking of which, Gunther has recently surpassed the Honky Tonk Man as the longest-reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. This was acknowledged by the commentary team after the Ring General defeated Chad Gable to retain his belt on this week's episode of Raw. On the recent edition of Busted Open Radio, Bully Ray spoke about the Austrian megastar who has had a parallel title reign that rivals the Tribal Chiefs in WWE. When asked about Gunther's potential as world champion and if he could take up the role Roman Reigns is currently in, Ray didn't hesitate to share his opinion. Without a doubt, he said, a throwback champion. Since June 10, 2022, Gunther has been walking the grounds of both brands weekly on WWE television. Along the way, he has brought back prestige to the second oldest belt in the company's history. The Hall of Famer revealed that his favorite Intercontinental Champion of all time is Pedro Morales. Since he grew up watching the legendary star, it's hard for Ray to see anybody else at number one. However, the Ring General might just be the greatest ever to hold the prestigious belt if it wasn't for the sentimental value. The real Intercontinental Championship and champion to me was Pedro Morales, and now second in my eyes is Gunther, Bully said. The only reason I say second in my eyes is because Pedro was the guy I grew up on. He set the tone, he set the standard, and he became a world heavyweight champion. So yeah, I understand the amount of days as champion that Gunther is number one, but Gunther is my number two right now only because Pedro always was my one. While doing an exclusive interview for Sportskeeda Wrestling, Gunther shared his feelings on stepping into the ring opposite the Tribal Chief. The Austrian, as it turns out, is not very keen on it. Do you think Gunther could pull off a Royal Rumble win next year and face Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania 40? Sound off in the comments section below.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take